Alright, hello. This is Morgan Jacobs, and I'm going to get a quick tutorial for people taking photographs or even getting kind of sloppy scans from their phone of hand drawings that we're doing for Jimenez Lies Studio 1. Today is January 5th. And we're going to start just with Photoshop already open. Hopefully you guys will have already emailed yourself and already downloaded the images that you've hand drawn. So we'll open those straight from Photoshop. I'll go to my downloads, and for me it's going to be these two. So I'm going to open them, and they're going to open here in Photoshop pretty quick, and I tried to intentionally take some kind of poor photographs so I could explain what we do to kind of bring them back together. It does help in some ways if you have a different colored background. But if your paper is too transparent, then you're going to run into an issue where some of that color is leaking through the paper. So I have my gestural figure here, pointing to the sky, kind of balanced on three pieces, maybe leaning back. And let's start with this one. So the first thing we're going to do in editing this photo is I'm going to double click on background to just turn it into a regular layer, and then I'm going to press Control U. For people with Apples or Mac computers running iOS, you're going to press Command U, and I'm going to turn the saturation all the way down. So this becomes a black and white image, from a color image to a black and white image, and that will get us here. And then the next thing I'll do is go to my crop, and I'll just start to rotate the image by going to the top right corner, waiting till I see the two-pronged arrow, and rotating the image till it looks mostly square with my crop. It's going to be a little off because the picture's at an angle, but that gets us pretty close. And I'm going to hit Enter to complete the crop, and then I'll give it a zoom in, and then click Crop again, and just bring it in right to the edges of the paper. I don't want to cut off any of the paper, but I do want to get us as close as reasonably possible. Once I'm there, I'll hit Enter again, and now we're really getting to the edges of the paper. You can see my paper's a little bowed. It's not perfectly flat on the table. Again, if you guys can make yours perfectly flat and take a picture right above it, that's ideal. But this is made for almost the worst case scenario, which is that your paper's curved and your table's wooden and things like that. You could always just crop off the edges of your picture to create your piece of paper. That way your edges are the same. But then your picture wouldn't be the same proportion as an 8.5 by 11. So what you can also do is go to the ratio at the top here and put an 8.5 by 11, which will make it so as we make this smaller and drag our picture around, it keeps the proportion of an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. But we are still cropping the sheet of paper smaller than it was before. So if you have very specific edges on your paper, like the 1-inch border, and you're going right up until that, then that's going to cause you problems. So what I would recommend is actually clicking on your layer, going to Edit, Transform, and Distort, and then grabbing these little corner pieces and dragging the corners of your paper right up to the corners of the crop box that you already have. It will slightly distort your drawing, but assuming that it was curved, it will actually put it back to the flat position it was in before. And then we can hit Enter, and that will leave us with this. Then I might go back in here, make sure this is still 8.5 by 11, and make sure my proportion is still as correct as is reasonable. Again, the paper's shifting slightly, and you can hold Alt, actually not while you're in crop, but if you're outside of the crop tool, you can hold Alt to zoom in and out on your image. And then finally, I'm going to do Control L or Command L on Mac to bring up my Levels tab. The Levels tab here controls how white your whites are and how black your blacks are. The graph here shows you where the majority of your colors are. So this gray we see here, we'd really like that to be white. So we'll take the white arrow and drag it into the middle of that gray piece, and then if we wanted our blacks to be a little bit more black, we could in theory drag this, but you'll see as we get into that large pillar, some of the grays is being pushed into black. So we're basically saying everything is a 1 or a 0, it's black or it's white. And you can see the discoloration in the paper there, so we would just leave it pretty much at this end here. Leaving us with this, I'd actually probably turn this down a little bit more, let the paper still be kind of a piece of paper. And that would leave us with our man, and then finally we can do a save as. I will save it here with the rest of this work, and I would label it Jacobs_Morgan_test. You would put the number that goes with your drawing there, and then I would always recommend saving a second time as a JPEG this time for easy upload and easy viewing on the Google Drive. The same thing can be done with even worse taken photo. Again, I would recommend doing your best to take a good photo, but sometimes due to lighting or shadows from where your cell phone is, it's just not possible. And to do this, once again, we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to exit the crop, desaturate. Oh, I haven't even making it no longer a background. Edit, transform, distort, and start to see what I can do to make this piece of paper actually be the drawing that I made and not something so off the edge of the board. And we can continue to zoom out, grabbing the corners and pulling the paper up, and we can see as I scroll that it's kind of remembering where it was and remembering where it is. This might have come off that corner, this one off that one. Put that guy up there, and let's see if this guy's still aligned. So this guy went a little too far. So I hit enter to make that distort official. 8.5 by 11 is what the crop already is. And so these are probably pretty close. You can see how my drawing went from, and so this one has a lot more grays in the middle, but we'll still just drag the white over to the first white peak and the black over to the first black peak here. Maybe I'll drag the white like a little further in so it's a little more bright. I didn't actually pull the edge of this paper all the way up. It's going to be difficult if you take a really bad photo to get it perfect, but these two photos, of course, originally are this photo and this photo. Neither one is a particularly good photo. You guys can take a lot better photos than this. This will help you get rid of yellowed paper. This will help you get rid of yellow light, whiten the drawing, and cut it flat so it's for easy viewing while online. Thank you so much, and best of luck with hand drawing.